My name is Lisa Reed, and I'm going to present my research on English language learning strategies. I'm an ESL teacher. I teach English as a second language, so this topic was very interesting to me. Before we move further, I just want to mention that for some reason, either this PowerPoint software or the software on Screencast-O-Matic, there's some kind of issue. The slides seem to be going forward without my telling it to do so. So in the event that it happens in this presentation, I'll just have to flip the slide backward. And I apologize in advance. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to correct the problem. In this research paper, you will find the answer to the question, what are the best learning strategies for English language learners? As an ESL teacher, I wanted to know, I needed to know. I reviewed 7 research-based, peer-reviewed studies that were examined with that question in mind. Studies were performed in several different locations. There were 3 from Malaysia, 1 from Hong Kong, 1 from southeastern United States, 1 from Korea, and 1 from Thailand. The studies included quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods. Some used just a questionnaire, others used a questionnaire and other methods such as unstructured essay, semi-structured questionnaire, and a survey. Others used semi-structured interview and observations in online forums, and another study used 2 questionnaires. Strategies mentioned fell into 2 distinct categories with consistent subcategories. Direct and indirect were the 2 main categories, with subcategories listed as cognitive, memory, compensatory, metacognitive, social, and affective. I have come to the conclusion that it's best to familiarize yourself with the type of learner you are working with, or you are, and tailor the learning to their style or your own style if you are the learner. Successful learners had a positive attitude toward their learning and took control of it. They didn't wait to be instructed and sought out ways outside of class to improve their language proficiency. They spent a significant amount of time on their pursuit of this knowledge outside of class. They pursued authentic language input. Authentic language input is described as language that you use in an everyday situation, such as making reservations for a trip or on a vacation, buying groceries at the grocery store, paying a bill, buying a car, language like that. Purpose and method. The purpose was to find out what are the best research-based strategies for teaching and learning English as a second language to improve my students' learning and my teaching. Method, my research strategy was to use the keywords language learning strategies. I also narrowed the search to the years between 2015 and 2022 to give me more current research. I included the requirement of must be a research study given by our professor and must be a peer-reviewed study to give it significance. All of the studies came from the ERIC Research Database. I have done a small digest or condensed all of 7 of the studies, and I'm not going to go over each one because I only have 15 minutes for this Screencast-O-Matic, and the professor requested only 5 minutes. But I have kind of done a little diagram here to help you understand which strategies played out and how they played out. Metacognitive was listed as the most used strategy in 3 of the 7 studies, followed by cognitive, which was listed as in 2 studies as the most frequently used, followed by compensatory was listed in 1 study as most frequently used, and affective. Memory and social were used, but just not as the first choice. They were used additionally. In conclusion, the topic of language learning strategies has been pretty thoroughly researched. From my reading, I saw the subject had research back to the 70s and 80s, if not before. From the research, I now understand that learning strategies categorizations were from the Oxford Language Learning Strategies Questionnaire, sometimes referred to as SILL, which stands for Strategies Inventory Language Learning. They are divided into two main categories of direct and indirect, and then further subdivided into subcategories of direct, cognitive, memory, compensatory, indirect, metacognitive, social, and affective. And as I previously mentioned, metacognitive is listed as at first used in three of the 7, followed by the other ones that I previously mentioned. Again, I have listed some of the strategies that were used for each area, each learning strategy, but in the interest of time, I won't go over each one of them, but you're welcome to go back through the study and read over them. They're very helpful to me, and maybe they would apply to other areas of learning. I think they are all useful, some more so than others. If I had to choose the ones I think most important, I would say cognitive, metacognitive, and affective, followed by social, compensatory, and memory. Some work well together, such as social and compensatory. That would be like practicing your language outside of class, and you're having a conversation, you can't think of a word, the exact word you need, so you think of an alternative word. That's a compensation strategy. It also depends upon where you are in your journey of language learning, for example, beginner or advanced. Some are more useful for different areas of language learning. Example, speaking versus listening. Some are more helpful for different types of learners. My answer to my research. Implications. Teachers need to teach learning strategies. They are important and useful in all subject areas. Being aware of effective strategies can encourage students to obtain better outcomes and enhance learning. Keeping a positive attitude is important. Being successful in your learning enhances your self-esteem too. After reading through this research and creating this PowerPoint, I was reminded of a quote that I read somewhere attributed to Henry Ford, who said, "If you think you can do a thing or you think you can't do a thing, you are correct." All students should know that successful learners have strategies. Good learners plan for success and set goals. Students have different learning styles. Teachers should accommodate and teach to those styles. It was mentioned that students should try to figure out what their learning styles are and then work towards success using those learning styles where they learn best. Types of learning styles such as concrete, abstract, sequential, random, kinesthetic, auditory, visual, written. That's probably not new information, but I thought I'd include that there. Your culture could also influence your learning strategy choices. For example, Asian versus American. Limitations. I don't see that there are limitations for language learning strategies other than not knowing them. Different strategies work better at different times and for different learners, different stages of learning, and different subject areas such as reading, writing, speaking, or listening. Suggestions for future research. Perhaps studying one specific strategy to gain more information about it. This has probably been done, but I haven't researched that question. Perhaps studying how language learning in a host country might affect learning. I don't know if that has been done either, but that would be an interesting question to pursue. And here is a list of my references. Thank you so much for listening to my explanation of my research English language learning strategies. I apologize for the wonkiness of the presentation, but as I mentioned before, there's nothing I can do about it.